making people mad. It's a pastime that's as old as human history itself, and if everyone wants to be honest with each other, depending on the person, it can be a lot of fun to do. Being a little toxic is something that's become hard-rooted into gaming culture as a whole. It's a delicate art form to balance correctly. Go too far and you're basically just bullying people for no reason. Do too little and you've wasted all of your effort on someone who isn't even going to get mad. I'm literally just talking about trolling, honestly. Team killing, spawn camping, teabagging, trash talking, all of it is in the effort to make the other person you're playing a game with just a little angry. This trolling, as it's called, gets a lot more interesting when a game developer uses tactics like these to make you mad while you're playing their game. On the surface, it seems like something that's really counterintuitive to do. You like to think that if someone gets mad enough at a game, they just drop it entirely and go do something else. But that's where people like me come in. Now, don't get me confused, there's absolutely a point at which I'll get mad enough at a game and put it down, but up until that point, I'll be absolutely addicted. And even after that point, all I'll be able to think about is how to overcome the thing that made me mad in the first place. Now, there's an important difference to be made here at how you can get pissed off playing video games. There's getting pissed off when it's the game's fault and getting pissed off when it's your fault. You might be wondering how someone could possibly be pissed off at their own skill in a game when they say things directly criticizing the game itself in the heat of the moment, but allow me to translate. This game fucking sucks, dude. I sometimes have issues grasping the complex mechanics of this game, and because of this, it's costing me and my friends rounds and or lives of our competitive game. Dude, he literally came out of fucking nowhere, man. He either snuck up on me or I failed to see him in time, and thus he killed me before I could realize. The movement in this game is fucking awful, dude. Misclick. On a more serious note, getting pissed off at your own lack of skill in the game is probably the most common form of getting pissed off at a game. It can happen in multiplayer lobbies or in single player experiences. In multiplayer, if someone is simply playing better, it's liable to piss anyone off. Happens to the best of us, or maybe the worst of us, depending on how you want to word it. All of those things I mentioned about multiplayer lobbies are fun to do every now and then. Being a little toxic is always a joy, but there's a lot of danger in being toxic if you can't back it up. It's the simple rule of put up or shut up, but it can make or break a session of good old tomfoolery if you say easy and then get demolished afterwards. There's truly no greater feeling of defeat. In single player games, the whole idea comes back around to the difficulty of the game. I've talked about video game difficulty before on my channel, but to paraphrase the video, making a game is hard work. There's a lot of nuance that goes into a game that chooses to piss you off. It needs to balance on a delicate tightrope between providing just enough of an ass kicking to keep things interesting, while still allowing you to overcome the challenges placed directly in front of you. Fuck this balance up and you get a game like Halo 2's legendary difficulty where the only enjoyment comes from overcoming the immense, confirmed, literally unfair challenge placed in front of you. And while sometimes the absurdity of placing 15 jackal snipers, who one-shot you on sight for those unaware, in a single area can be wildly comedic, I can completely understand if you choose to put down the game at this point. For multiplayer games, this concept is pretty much in the bag. As long as the game is good and is enjoyable to play on its own merits, games like CSGO or Osu, wild comparison I know, are essentially just long-form anime training arcs. The more time you invest, the more you play, the more you learn, and the better you get at the game. The only reason you get pissed off is because you weren't up to par. Simply put, skill issue. A single-player game that I believe does this beautifully is Doom Eternal. Depending on how adept you are at video games, there's a difficulty here for anyone to get a challenge out of. And after getting a taste for the level of challenge I could normally expect on Nightmare and the Slayer Gates, my Nightmare playthrough came soon after. And holy shit. I know that there's going to be some of Doom's strongest Slayers in the comments telling me how easy the game was for them after hour 452 of playing the game, but Eternal shows constantly that it's willing to challenge those it considers adept with the Doom Dance, the developer's name of the overall gameplay loop. In terms of pissing me off, however, no challenge in my Nightmare playthrough was greater than the Slayer Gates. It's not because of some sort of contrived bullshit. All of the Slayer Gates are challenges that are hard as fuck on Nightmare, yes, but they're possible. And it's those challenges that enthrall me like no other. With every single enemy placed in each Slayer Gate challenge, I can see the developers at id Software leaning back in their office chairs going, dude, that enemy is really gonna fuck with them. Elden Ring, and any FromSoft games really, push this concept to the absolute limits of its ability to work. I'll focus on Elden Ring because it's the FromSoft game I've been playing the most recently, and fuck, dude, I cannot get over the fact that the guy who made this game fucking hates me. For a game so unequivocally popular right now, it surprises me that so many people are willing to be motivated through getting pissed off. I mean, the first boss of the game that you encounter isn't even meant to be beat. As far as I'm aware, you're supposed to die. It's a game that sets out to piss you off by absolutely crushing you whenever it can, and I'm only more compelled to complete it each time it throws some out-of-nowhere ass-kicking my way. Like, the third NPC I interacted with told me I had 0 bitches and then proceeded to beat the ever-living shit out of me. Of course I had to dedicate my time to killing him. Like, I understand from a development perspective why the game is like this. Miyazaki, the director of the game, wants to create an unrelentingly tough experience. It's the game design equivalent of having your 5th game of a new COD be a 1v1 against the sweatiest Nuketown warrior you could ever possibly imagine, and then Miyazaki walks into the room, holds a gun against your head, and says, nah, don't worry, you win these, bro. And don't take this the wrong way, there's nothing wrong with this, I'm just so shocked that I'm so readily willing to go along with it. Like, yeah, I read a message on the ground talking about how there was a trap ahead. Could I have ever prepared for the trap to teleport me to these crystal mines that lead directly into the middle of Caelid? No, but I guess I don't know what I really expected considering I was warned about it. I go to explore this big ass lake and suddenly a massive dragon spawns on top of me out of nowhere. It's unfair, but honestly it's pretty funny when I think about it. Games like Super Meat Boy or Getting Over It are, unlike the previous examples, games literally just meant to piss you off. They're both tough challenges that do not concern themselves with being fair or a learning experience or any of that shit. For what they set out to do, they definitely succeed, and it goes to show just how motivating anger can really be in a game. While everyone obviously has their limits and a point at which they'll balk, it's interesting to see just how far someone can go to accomplish a challenge set before them if they're given a little poke. Ultimately, getting mad at video games is something that's kind of just bound to happen depending on the game that's being played. Obviously, how mad someone gets varies from person to person. One person might end up just getting a little frustrated, while another person might end up with a controller shattered into a million pieces all over the ground. However you might go about expressing your rage, one thing that usually stays constant with everyone who gets mad at games is that their answer to, why don't you just play something else, is that they enjoy getting mad. I agree, I enjoy getting mad. Don't tell me to play something else, I enjoy this, goddammit. Consider subscribing down below, I'm 3K away from 90,000, and click on the playlist to hear more of my horrid opinions.